again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Giants Guys. We haven't been on the air for about 2 weeks. We're trying to hide in our foxhole until this season blows over, but decided to come on today to talk a little bit of Giants football. This is John Fenley, and I'm with Craig Santucci of NY Giants Rush again. Craig, how are you?
I'm a little bit mentally drained, but like you said, it's been one of these seasons where you keep hoping and praying something good's gonna come out of it, and it's a frequent letdown on either Monday morning or Sunday morning, Monday, whatever it may be. It's been rough.
It's been one of those seasons, and it brings me back to. They just lost their, 8th game in a row? And the last time they lost 8 games in a row was 1976. And that was the first year they played at Giant Stadium, first year they played in New Jersey. And a lot of people went out of curiosity, but as the season went on, hardly anybody went. And they fired Bill Onsparger, who should have been fired, maybe shouldn't even have been hired. And John McVay, who was Sean McVay's grandfather, took the team over, and he coached it for the next 2 years until the fumble game. And then he got himself fired. So those were some rough years. These are some rough years. I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, and we'll talk about in a few minutes about what the future could hold. But if they were going to win a game this year, Monday night was the game in Philadelphia because the Eagles stink. Any of the other 30 teams that would have played the Eagles that night on Monday would have beat them. Yeah, I'm almost positive.
They're pretty streaky.
Well, they have so many guys out, too.
Yeah, they're injured. They're streaky. But I will tell you this. As much as I agree with your point that 31 other teams could or 30 other teams could beat them.
Would have beaten them.
Would have beat them.
Because they were ripe for the taking. The Giants had them down 17-3, and then go into the tunnel, go into the locker room, make 0 adjustments, come back out, and let the Eagles dictate the rest of the game to them.
Not only dictated, and not only was there not any adjustments, but it was literally like the Eagles flipped a switch. They were like, okay, we can do this. Let's go. Oh, we're 2 receivers down. No problem. Oh, we've got a banged up line. Not a problem.
Right. They lost Lane Johnson. They lost Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah. And it goes to show.
And Miles Sanders.
And that goes to show directly. It's not like beating around the bush. It's not the long way around. That goes directly to the guy up top, Doug Peterson, knowing his personnel and laying it out there on what he has to do to win the game. Now, they came in a little soft, a little banged up. Maybe, who knows why they played so bad the first half. But, watching him in overtime was
I'm going to tell you why. Because the Giants had a plan. They only have a plan for the first half of any game or the first series. When they have to adjust in-game, they don't know how to do it.
I think you're giving him a lot of credit, though, because, Eli makes a couple nice throws, to Slayton. I don't know. I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here because I don't see a plan. I saw Eli make a couple nice throws, Slayton make a couple nice catches, and that's it. I didn't see Barkley ripping off 75 yards. I didn't see the tight end on the, in the flat. I didn't see Eli roll out. The only thing I saw that grabbed my attention was the fake end around, where he handed off and then he put the ball in his left hand and handed it off to Shepard around the corner.
Yes, that was a good play.
Great play. They'll never run it again. But my point is that
and the flea flicker was a great play too, but they forgot to block. The Eagles, all 11 guys charged the line of scrimmage.
Yes, they did.
If Eli was able to get that pass off, it was a touchdown.
Yeah, what was it? Tate, right? Wide open?
Yeah, they're wide open down the field. Eagles they bit the whole way.
Yep. I just don't think, as one half of the Giants guys, I think I'm going to have to go the other route. I don't see a plan. I don't see a plan. I saw Eli make a couple good throws, one new play that will never be run again, and that's it. I didn't see anything. I really didn't, because in the second, and then of course in the second half, when you need to make the adjustments that are necessary, they come down, put 2 on the Giants, and then overtime, Doug Peterson looked like a brain surgeon. I mean, he was like, I'm going to run the motion to the right. Everybody bites it. I'm going to pull the guard in the center to the left. I'm going right down the field. Oh, I'm going to take the tight end, put him in the slot. I mean, it was masterful. It was like no resistance whatsoever.
And I have my theory. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you a theory on how that went.
Yeah, and tell me, because I'm telling you, it seemed too easy, and it flowed so nicely, and it was like the light bulb went off, and all of a sudden they found their groove. Now
8 plays, 75 yards, or whatever it was.
Yeah. So no, I can't agree that there was a plan
with Zach Ertz wide open in the end zone.
Yeah, which is the same problem the Giants always have, and you guys and the fans that don't like Landon Collins, you guys were all celebrating in the streets. When he wasn't here because he couldn't cover a tight end. We still can't cover a tight end. So to blame Landon Collins for 3 years that he couldn't cover a tight end, it doesn't matter who's there. No one can cover a tight end.
In overtime. Okay, now if we watched the game, and the Giants were pretty much dominating the trenches, especially on defense. Until this guy Boston Scott came in the game, and they couldn't really find him. He got some yardage off him, but they were winning up front against the Eagles' offensive line.
Yeah, they were hitting Wentz.
Right. So here comes overtime. You could tell that the Giants sideline is very disorganized because they keep getting 12 men on the field.
Oh, that's a disgrace, by the way.
Okay, they didn't get called for it, I don't think, the other night, but they had it on. They had twice.
No, they got called for it once.
And they called timeout on the other, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So they got called. So that's 2 games in a row now, right?
It's a disgrace.
So I'm thinking they're not running their sideline. They don't know what they're doing personnel-wise. So this is why Leonard Williams isn't on the field in overtime. He's the guy that's creating all the havoc in there. Believe it or not. As much as I don't think they should re-sign him because he's going to cost them too much money, he's still the best guy they got.
Yeah, he's hungry to go in there and hit the quarterback.
And he was doing it. And he was throwing people around. He batted down a pass. He made a couple of tackles, 5 tackles, I think. That's a lot for him. But in overtime, he's not on the field. Why not?
So
Did they forget he was on the team?
No. So my theory is that
after the game, Sherman says, "Well, we had a rotation."
Oh God!
And he's not in the rotation.
Yeah, no one listens to that guy. He's an empty suit at this point.
How could your best defensive lineman not be in the rotation in overtime? Right.
You want my theory?
Go ahead.
Punishment for the forearm.
Oh, come on.
Think about it.
The roughing the passer?
Yeah, it was a forearm to the solar plex or the chest plate, of Wentz, and he went down and he got called for it. Knowing the way the Giants are and just like what's happening, I can't think of another way. I think they took his shift, whatever you want to call it, his rotation down. Because think about it. There's a rotation, but he's now getting less rotated because they're unhappy with him. Why? Otherwise, you'd have him on the field.
All right, then I don't want to see him be re-signed. Which would be a disgrace because it doesn't matter. They wasted 2 picks whether they sign him or don't sign him.
Yeah. I mean, I could be 100% wrong, but it just feels to me like, hey, you know what? You got this penalty, and you didn't need to do it. And we looked back at it, because it's on the film. And you know what? Hey, we're just going to cut your shifts down. We're not putting you out there when it's necessary. That's the only thing I could come up with. Otherwise, you'd put your best 4 guys out there, him being one of them, if not the best.
What happened to you play to win the game?
Nah, we don't play to win no game. We sat on those 14 points 2 straight quarters. I mean, we didn't go down there. Listen, I cannot go another game watching Barkley be an afterthought It's a complete, utter waste. We cannot find a way to get this guy the ball. Put him on any other team in the NFL, and he's either got 100 yards receiving or 100 yards rushing or something. It's non-existent. And when the game is on the line, I love Slayton. I think he's great.
Mm-hmm.
But when the game's on the line, I'm throwing the ball to Shepard, Tate, or Barkley. I'm not going to put that much pressure on the kid. I'm just not. Listen, I'm kind of told you, I'm mentally exhausted from it. There's nowhere to go but to change what's going on, because every week it's something new, but you get the same answers from the guy. For once, it'd be nice to be like, yeah, we sucked at practice and we weren't doing anything well, and this is what happens when you don't play well.
Right.
Or practice well. Like, you just don't get anything, and I understand he's protecting his guys, I guess, but he just seems passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't work. He's not leading these guys. They're not inspired to play for this guy. And then you've got a coordinator on the defensive side of the ball that literally can't coach his way out of a paper bag.
Okay. I agree. Okay. I was just so livid. Not that I want to see Williams come here and, them sign him to a long-term contract so he can dog it again, like he did with the Jets. But he should have been there in that overtime, and he wasn't there. And, it was 8 plays right down the field. The Giants had no recourse. They knew the only guy they really could throw the ball to was Ertz. Nobody covered him.
Well, that just goes back to the fact that
Julian Love couldn't cover him.
Well, put everything aside. Put it all aside. Overtime starts. The only direction as a defensive coordinator you should be giving your guys in overtime is, we'll figure the rest out. You stop Ertz. I don't care what you guys do. Stop Ertz. He cannot catch the ball. And as a defensive coordinator, that's all. If Ertz wasn't in the game, they never even score a point.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. The guy's a fantastic athlete. He's a great football player. Top 3 tight end in the game.
But he's all they had in that game, and
exactly.
It's just irritating. Especially when Jeffrey goes down, Sanders goes out of the game with cramps for like 2 quarters.
Yeah.
They made it easy for the Giants, and they just couldn't take advantage of it. Ertz was the guy you double.
Yeah,
you take that away because Wentz, to tell you the truth, he's having enough problems even when he has all his guys.
Yes, correct.
So, not that he's not a good player or going to be a good player, but he struggles this year.
You know what? I'm going to go as far as to say this, and there maybe people will think I'm crazy, but I feel there's some validity to it. Tony Romo's best friend was Jason Witten.
Yep.
Those guys went on vacation together. They hung out together. They had chemistry on and off the field. They
Correct.
knew each other like the back of their hands. And for 15 years, Jason Witten abused the Giants.
That's right.
The same. Who do you think Wentz's best friend is? It's Ertz.
That's right.
like these guys, when they literally, it's Sandlot for those 2 guys. You don't think Wentz is in the huddle being like this? I'll get open, throw him in a rock. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, he's looking for him as soon as he gets the ball. As soon as the snap comes, he's looking for him.
He ran that route. Ogletree and Thomas both know what's going on. Neither one of them make the adjustment towards him. It's Ogletree's not going to be able to keep up with Ertz to begin with. But just think about it. If I'm the safety, I've got to go pick up Ertz. You're a captain, Thomas.
Sad.
You've got to know what you're doing. And if he doesn't know what he's doing, Betcher is so not the coach for this team, because he cannot, coach up, educate, and get his guys to do the right thing on any level. Every guy, Zemenis disappeared. Carter disappears.
Mm-hmm.
You've got half the, 3/4 of the year Jenkins doesn't travel with the number 1 receiver. You let Ballantyne and what do you call it? Get a Hamilton. Who's a slot corner? I'm drawing a blank now.
Grant Haley.
Haley. You're letting Haley and Ballantyne get abused. Jenkins doesn't travel. Zemenis and Carter disappear. I mean, it's just mind-numbing. And if this doesn't scream, wrong coach, because I really do think, I had a tweet that I was saying, hey, I'm looking out the windshield. I'm looking forward. There's some players on this team. I really do think with the right guy and the right scheme, you can have some fun. Like Golden needs to be re-signed. Golden, has some game. I think Zemenis has some game, and I think someone who actually knew how to had a high football IQ on the defensive side could actually get more out of Carter. And then, of course, your DBs are always confused. So there's just no way that this defense is completely talentless. It's not possible.
No, I think they have some talent on that defense. I think they need direction, and they don't have it. I think the captains they have on this team, they're either injured, playing poorly, or not playing. Not playing at all. If you look at the 7 captains they have,
yeah, which is what 1, 2, 3, 4 too many?
No, it's a lot, but look who they are. Eli, he just came back this week. I mean, he wasn't a captain. I mean, he was a captain, but he wasn't playing. Saquon hurt, not playing well.
Diassi
out. Solda sucks. Right? Ogletree sucks. Well, actually, he doesn't suck, but he's just not as good as he should be. All right, Michael Thomas, part-time player. So there you go. And Antoine Bethea, 35-year-old guy, still finding his way. Playing pretty good for the most part.
Yeah, his issue is the same as Collins. You just got an older guy to do it. He's a great box safety, but he just cannot cover.
He made some good plays last week. He batted down a pass that was a short touchdown in the red zone. I mean, but he's at the end.
Yeah.
He's not at the height of his powers.
No, but he'd be a great box safety. Why they have him always in space is beyond me. It took 10 weeks to get Julian Love on the field. 10 weeks.
And he's played okay. But, he was on Ertz for that first touchdown, and the ball went right past him.
He did. But you know what, though? When I think about it, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you don't play for 2.5 months,
I know.
Getting on the job training right there against one of the best. I can't fault the kid.
Also, he's a slot corner, a corner at Notre Dame, right? I don't know if he played safety at Notre Dame. I don't know this for a fact. I should know it, but I don't. And now they have him playing, free safety or strong safety in the NFL as a rookie. Just like Ballantyne had never played slot corner in college. They have him playing slot corner.
I think Love can do it. I mean, I don't know if he's a full-time free safety, but I think he could do it. I mean, he's around the ball. He's making some really nice tackles when, he made a couple good form tackles in that snow game 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
I was thoroughly impressed. He had an interception, almost had a second one. We've been watching.
I like the way he plays. When they drafted him in the 4th round, a lot of people said it was a steal. And then all of a sudden he disappeared.
Betcha.
Because they couldn't find a spot for him. Because he's not a natural anything. He's like Peppers. He's not a natural anything.
He's not an ex-Cardinal is what he isn't.
Yeah, well, that too. Like Peppers, is he really a safety? I don't know. He can do a lot of things, but they want him to play safety. And, he's starting to shape up there. And then, of course, he gets hurt, so...
Well, I mean, if you think body style and game-wise, they're backwards anyway. Peppers is better all over the field, where Bethea's a tackler.
Right.
But they got Bethea at the free and Peppers at the strong, which kind of doesn't make sense when you think about their game. Peppers is more out of position all the time.
This is the thing. There's really no free or strong with the Giants. They kind of alternate.
Yep, that's true.
They flip depending on how many defensive backs they have out there, depending on the formation. That's the thing. It's such a fungible defense. There's too many assignments, and that's why they get confused, and that's why there's a lot of big plays.
Yeah.
They didn't have any big plays against them this week.
No, but you hit the nail on the head. It's just so complex and convoluted.
Right.
There are so many fronts. Rush 2, rush 3, rush 4, rush 5. 5 DBs, 6 DBs, 7 DBs. Like, there's just so
And
complicated.
he's dialing up the wrong combinations most of the time.
Yes,
No,
he does.
he is.
Yeah.
I mean, against run-heavy teams, he's got 2 linemen. I mean, come on. You remember that time.
Oh, my God.
I mean,
every
you can't
time
do
I
that.
see it, I'm just like, is anyone screaming inside their head beside me?
Yeah, it's just silly. I wanted to go back a little bit and talk about Saquon and the 2018 draft class. Because I wrote an article about, how well they did last year and how poorly they're doing this year. Uh-oh. You there?
It seems to be. Yeah, I'm here. I got you. I thought I lost you for a second. The next step is that if Betcher makes it, through these last couple games.
No, I think we got cut off and reconnected.
Oh, okay. I hear you fine.
I was talking about the 2018 draft class.
Yes, you definitely got cut off then.
Yeah, I got cut off. So, the 2018 draft class, who played so well last year, and they're not doing so well this year.
And it's interesting because that kind of brings us. I mean, why isn't McIntosh on the field?
He didn't play it down
What
the other
happened
night.
to Beach? No, and this is my thing. Like, it's okay. The same thing with Love, but it's more of like this ignorance from Betcher. Like, we don't know what McIntosh can do. I do know when he got in the game earlier in the season, he had a sack. I mean, I'd like to see McIntosh play. And why in the hell is B.J. Hill, in the doghouse? Like, what happened to his role where he went from breaking a record for sacks from interior linemen?
Well, he wasn't making any plays. He's still, to this game, they're 13 games in, and he still has no sacks, no tackles for a loss, and no quarterback hits. 0-0-0. He's got goose eggs across the board. That's a defensive end for you.
But that's my thing. It's got to be something else. He can't just literally fall off the map.
Well, why did they trade for Williams? To replace him or because he wasn't playing well?
He came in playing the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, if you ask me, that was more about, hey, we might not re-sign Tomlinson. We'll just replace him with Williams.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. Because now Tomlinson's playing just as well as Williams.
Correct.
And, Lawrence, I think that Williams' presence has helped them. But it hasn't helped Hill.
Well, yeah, and that's, to your point about the draft class.
Let's go through it. Saquon, the high ankle sprain, it's got to be healed by now.
I would think so.
Okay. Still not performing. He hasn't had a 100-yard game since week 2.
And I personally chalk that up to this game. You're just not using the guy.
Yeah, he's not getting the ball enough.
No.
But he's also not breaking away. He's not getting any breakaway plays like he did last year.
Well, that's my thing with Saquon. It seems that, he starts to get going and then he goes cold because you don't give him the ball. Like, if you run him 5 or 6 times and he's getting warm, well, then break it up with 2 or 3 passes. Like, he's just not a focus of the offense.
Right.
We're focusing on 2 receivers that can't stretch the field and 1 rookie. That's never going to win you games. Like I like Tate and Shepard, but they're not number 1s. They're both number 2s.
Right.
They don't stretch the field very well. When's the last time we've had a 30, 40-yard touchdown pass?
They're possession receivers.
Yeah. And then you're going to depend on poor Slayton, poor kid, just getting there, figuring it out. You got to use Barkley. He's made for the spotlight. But, if it's not working, jamming the ball up the middle, which Shermer tends to love to do, and Shula, who, that's another story. But, get the ball to Saquon on the outside, passing or whatever it is. I mean, look, Saquon threw a touchdown pass 2 years ago.
Right.
I mean, some of this stuff just doesn't make sense. So go ahead. So Saquon is definitely.
No, actually, he didn't throw it. It was Beckham who threw it to him.
That was right. Beckham.
Yeah.
That's right. So all right. So Saquon, I think, is being underused. Who's number 2?
Will Hernandez is tailed off considerably.
I agree, and I still go back thinking that he's got that pulley is bad, and that really hurts Hernandez because
Jalapeno is not having a good year either, and he's in between Solder and Jalapeno.
Yeah, and I think it should be pulley. They only gave him 1 game.
Yeah. So Hernandez is just not himself for some reason. He's not playing that well.
And remember, he played really well the second half of last season. And that was big. I personally think it's because he had Pulley and Brown.
Yeah, it's possible. To surround him with those guys, yeah. Third round, we're talking about B.J. Hill and Lorenzo Carter. I think you're seeing what you're going to see from Carter. I don't think you see him getting any better. I think it is what it is with him, and Hill is a mystery. Right?
Agreed. I don't even have anything to say. I just don't find football players have a great as rookie year as he does to fall off the map. There has to be something else going on, whether he doesn't like Hal Hunter or he's
well, no, it's that Hal Hunter
Hal.
Would be the it's
Not
still the
Hal
same
Hunter.
coaching staff.
Yeah.
Hunter
Not
is the
Hal.
offensive line coach, but the thing is that I just think that last year he played with a little more fire. And this year, it's a sophomore slump type of thing, but he's fallen way off.
Yeah,
he could be injured, and we don't know it. I mean, it could be a lot of different things. I mean, guys don't reveal things like that sometimes.
No, forgive me on the Hal Hunter thing. I didn't mean that. I was thinking
right.
the coach, and you're right. It could be a combination. It might be a Jones thing. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's just he likes Eli being the leader, and maybe Jones hasn't stepped into that role yet. Who knows? Could be anything.
I don't know. But, the fourth-round pick was Lauletta, and we know they actually moved up to draft him.
Yep.
And then they cut him. And now he's on the Eagles practice squad. That doesn't really mean anything, but, it's another wasted pick,
Yep.
They don't have right now. A fourth-round pick, they don't have him. And McIntosh was a fifth-round pick, and their last pick didn't play it down the other night. So, I don't get it. This draft class has kind of really tanked a little bit on me, and it's disappointing. And this year's draft class is hanging in there, right?
I think from a.
Well, Slayton is picking up the whole draft class by himself.
Yeah, Slayton and
Dexter Lawrence has been okay, and
yeah, I think the biggest issue is your Baker Beal, combination because Connolly
got hurt.
He got hurt, but he did show some nice, athletic ability in the middle.
Who knows what he could be?
Yep.
He'll be back. I mean, but still, I mean, he was playing very well when he got hurt.
Yeah, it's more about, what's Baker going to give you,
and what Daniel Jones is going to give you.
Yeah,
and we're going to talk about that when we talk about Gettleman in a few minutes. But
okay, yeah, because I got some. I've been listening and reading and all sorts of things, and there's some nutty scenarios out there.
Yeah, this year's draft class, Love is still a work in progress, but I like him. I like Ballantyne. I think he'll be okay.
Yep.
Baker played pretty well the other night. I think he had 3 passes defensed. When you don't hear his name, that's a good thing. And when you do hear his name and he's, breaking up a pass, it's even better.
I'm probably in the minority here. I'm not overly a big fan. I find him as a me guy. I just want and again, I know, Love didn't win the Thorpe Trophy and Baker did, right? He lost it out to him, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah.
I just like Love's game better. Love flies around. He's got great form, and I think he could be. Who he reminds me of almost to a T, and it's funny that he wears the same number. He reminds me of Terrell Thomas.
Yeah, sure.
From USC. I know it's the same number, but he reminds me of the same guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a ball player. He's athletic. Baker, to me, just reminds me of a guy like, when do I get paid? Where do I have to be? I hope that's not the case. I'm just, I'm not overly a huge fan.
Yeah. I don't know what to think of Baker, and we won't for a while. But, the rest of that draft class, that Big George, Asafo Ajayi, he was on IR. They're not bringing him back, so we'll see what he's got next year, offensive tackle. You never know. Yep. And Chris Slayton, the kid from Syracuse, is on the practice squad, defensive tackle. So, he give him a year to develop also. But this is not the coaching staff that I trust when it comes to developing players.
Agreed.
I don't think there's a lot of teaching going on.
Now,
or if it is, it's not taking heed, that's for sure.
Well, you and I have both discussed it numerous times here on the Giants, guys, that, Jones is continuing to make these same mistakes over and over and over, and you wonder, like, hey, Mr. Knock Knock, Mr. Quarterback Guru, you got what you wanted. You got a rookie quarterback. You got him starting, and it's the same exact mistakes week after week. Can anyone help the kid out and coach him up? So
right.
You are 100% right that there is some doubt in if these guys are actually instructing and making these young kids better.
Yeah, I don't see it. And now we can start talking about the house cleaning that's probably going to happen because Steve Tisch seems to be a little pissed. He doesn't get involved. And when he was interviewed at the March of Dimes dinner last week, he told Bruce Beck and a few other people that he's going to sit down with John Mara at the end of the season and they're going to make some changes. We'll talk about what we need to do. He's very disappointed. We know Mara's very disappointed. They can't really, in all honesty, say, okay, we're going to give these guys another year because that's going to be a wasted year, in my opinion.
Oh, you cannot give them.
And I think it starts with Gettleman. I think that he's already shown that he has poor judgment and is not a modern-day GM. The Leonard Williams trade was so short-sighted. Okay? It was such a bad trade. Now, the guy could end up being a great player, but you don't trade in season 2 draft picks for an impending free agent when you only have 2 wins. Right?
Yeah, what's the purpose?
There's no purpose at all.
You're not on the verge of winning.
Right. Why do you trade? That's a move a first place team one guy away makes.
Yep.
Not a last place team. And now, Williams is going to demand a lot of money, and they're probably going to end up paying it because they don't want to waste the draft picks. They need to have something to show for it. And he's not worth the money.
So Gettleman to me, while he was never my first, second, third choice, you know me, I've said this many times, there's nothing more that I hate than when the cameras are on and he's doing stand-up comedy. I mean...
he hasn't been doing it because he's avoiding the media. And I think this is all Francesa related.
It probably is.
Because he's the one he's the only one with any balls to ask anybody any questions. And, you could love him or hate Mike Francesa. I mean, I'm this way, that way about him. But he asked the tough questions. He asked Sherman so many tough questions, Sherman stopped doing the spot.
Yeah.
And he criticized the Giants to the point where he wasn't wrong. Maybe he shouldn't have done it, but he wasn't wrong. Call him a clown show right after the draft. That Gettleman was like, I'm not talking to this guy. And Pat Hanlon, forget about WFAN. We're not going to talk with them anymore.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then Sherman cut his spot out when he couldn't answer the questions and they were fair questions. Very fair questions.
I'm not a Francesa guy, but I'm sure they were at least remotely fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's what we all wanted to know. And it's what a lot of the beat pool guys should be doing, but they don't want to, lose their standing in the media room. By being the guy asking a tough question.
But even if you ask a tough question, you know you're not going to get it answered. Like this
I'll
is
tell you what we used to do.
Okay.
The guys used to, a lot of the beat guys wouldn't ask questions to Coughlin. They'd have one of the younger female reporters ask him because they knew he wouldn't get pissed off at them.
Yeah, I'm sure because it's
if somebody was asking him a question,
it's a new face.
One of the guys are asking a question, he'd be like, "What are we talking about?" That. Blah, blah, blah. If one of the young ladies asked a question, he'd be, "Well, it's a good question, but he changed his tune."
Well, here's the thing. Coming full circle for me on Gettleman is that I am not. I don't hate Gettleman, right? Because when I think back about Jerry Reese getting all that slack and destroying the team and just butchering the draft to no end, I don't know if these players are any good or the coaches are no good. So I'm not.
It's half and half.
And it could be, but I still don't think that getting rid of Gettleman is the answer and starting all over again. I do think you need.
But it's more than the draft, Craig.
Oh, I know. But Abrams has to stand up
trades,
and do something
it's
too.
salary cap management. It's foresight. It's planning. It's not going anywhere.
No, but how much are we putting? Again, I'm not defending him. I'm just putting this out there as a fair question. How much of this is on Abrams? He's supposed to be the VP in training or the GM in training.
No.
He's the cap guy.
Pretty much. I mean, they do. There's so many people working in personnel in that building. One vision. They don't have one vision.
No. That's kind of where
if you look at the war room, John Mara's in there, Steve Tisch is in there, Chris Mara is in there. Okay, Chris Pettit is in there, a whole bunch of other scouts. All right, Gettleman's in there, Abrams is in there, Shermer is in there. They're all in there. Okay, their turn comes to pick. You got 5 opinions.
Maybe. I hear you.
New England, you got one opinion. I want that guy. Draft him.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't. I'm still a little bit on the fence because I don't hate the drafts because, like I said, this is a 7-9 team. This could be an 8-8 team.
Yeah.
Like everything about this team let's put Leonard Williams contract aside, re-signing the punter, putting all that stuff aside right now.
Why would you re-sign the punter in week 12?
Oh, none
not
of
that
that
he's not
sense.
worth re-signing, but
why are you doing it right now? Yes, I got it. None of that stuff, like those ancillary things, that should just be in the back room that nobody gives a crap about, always kind of comes to the forefront that makes Gettleman look like a tool, right? And I don't like. I mean, I called him Grandpa for months because I'm like, why are we hiring a 70-year-old GM? I'm fully on board with it. But the only thing is that you really have to ask yourself, if you had a different coach, I mean a coach, high IQ, balls to the wall, guys that want to, if you had a Pete Carroll, if you had a
high energy individual.
Yeah, like if you had a guy, a leader of men, I think it is called, right? If you had that guy, does this team win games? I think so. This team gives up right now. It's not the right personnel. Maybe that comes from the top down. And you can go get a new, young, snappy GM. That's fine too. Okay? But there's a lot of puzzle pieces here we have to think about. One, and maybe it's too early to talk about it, but, Ron Rivera is, to me.
No, I don't want him.
Okay, you don't want him. See, I think Ron Rivera has a lot of things that the Giants don't have. I think he's got a lot of ability.
I don't think he'd come here, first of all, and work for Gettleman again.
Yeah, Gettleman made him.
Okay, I don't know if he'd do that. I don't know their relationship, but I don't think he's the kind of guy the Giants want here. I mean, would he even come here, first of all? And secondly, is he that good of a coach?
So I look at this. This is how I looked at it. I don't know if you had a chance to read it or if you had a chance to check it out. Earlier or late last week, I did a piece on nygiantsrush.com. I wrote a piece called Giants Coaching Candidates Top 11 for 2020, right?
Okay.
And, it's on nygiantsrush.com. It's right up there at the top with some of the other stuff. To me, there are 11 candidates that are going to get an interview this year with all the teams, not just the Giants, right?
Right.
And I can go through them, but the number one guy that seems to me, and I'm not saying I like him or dislike him, okay? I'm just saying that in general, the things that we don't currently have. One, he's won the NFC South back-to-back years under Gettleman. His 3 best years are under Gettleman, okay? He has gone to the playoffs. He has gone to the Super Bowl in 9 years. He's their most winning coach with a record of 76, 63, and 1. He's a tough-nosed guy. He was a tough player. He's gritty. We don't have any gritty guys. We don't have anything like that.
Right.
He's had a Super Bowl run. And by the way,
let's
not forget the number one thing he's good at. He's had to deal with Cam Newton.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cam Newton is like having OBJ.
Yep.
And all these years, he's won games. You know what I mean? And so you've got Breeze and Matt Ryan in your backyard, right? And he's won back-to-back, NFC South. To me, that's more than the Giants have had since early Coughlin.
All right.
So
I'm willing to listen to him. How's that?
Yes, and you know why I think you specifically would like him? He's got a little bit of Belichick in him. He's got a little bit of Parcells in him. I mean, you can watch the YouTube.
He was an 85 Bear.
Yup. And you can go and watch the YouTube video that was recorded about him chewing out his players, dropping 15 F-bombs in 30 seconds. Like, he would bring back a lot of the things that you and I miss about the Giants. The hardcore smash mouth type of player, and I think that, he would love to come back and work for Gettleman because Gettleman inherited him, but he gave him the right players to win.
And he re-signed him.
Yeah.
He re-signed. He could have gotten rid of Rivera after that losing season, but he didn't.
And I also don't want any more. Listen, let me get this out there, and I'll hand the ball back to you. Okay, we need to stop getting rid of the word retread. Okay, because Belichick's a retread, Pete Carroll's a retread, John Gruden's a retread. Let's get rid of the word retread. It doesn't mean anything.
Andy Reid is a retread.
Exactly. You know what? You go to a franchise with no money, no salary cap, and all these issues in a head case, quarterback or owner, whatever it is, you lose for specific reasons. Good coaches get a second opportunity, and they get in the right situation to thrive. To me, you're talking about a guy, first-time head coach, and does all those great things in 9 years. What have we done in 9 years? Nothing.
We lost 6 out of 7.
Yes. So I'm not saying he's the ultimate guy, but I don't want a college head coach and he's a first-time head coach again. We've done McAdoo. We've done Shermer. Like, give me a guy who's a tough-nosed guy. Secondly, there are only 11 defensive head coaches in the NFL, okay? There are only 11. But guess what? The top 6 of those offensive coaches have the worst-ranked defenses in the NFL. So if you go out and go get yourself some hotshot offensive coordinator to come in here and be a head coach, don't expect better defense. So I'm okay with Rivera being a potential candidate.
All right. We'll give him a shot. How's that?
All right. That's all I can ask for.
You sold me. I wasn't thinking about him at all.
All right. So who are you thinking?
I'm not thinking of anybody in particular right now.
Come on. You got to have something. The Giants guys, you got to have something.
I really don't. I really don't have any preference who comes in.
All right.
But you're right. They need somebody who has more energy, somebody who knows how to motivate a team. They're not motivated at all. There's no sense of urgency. It's a problem. It's a problem. When you have a young team like that, you've got to direct them. You've got to be hands-on.
Well, I'm gonna say that John Fennelly owns the Giants, and I'm gonna give you 11 of these guys that I outlined. I took a lot of time to look at all these guys. Just pick one and tell me which guy you'd want out of these 11. You ready?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Ron Rivera, was the former head coach of the Panthers. Greg Roman, offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh.
Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator of the Chiefs. Dan Quinn, who might get fired at the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Rule, which is the current head coach of Baylor and the former head coach of Temple.
Right.
Jason Garrett, who's still the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, but unless he goes to the Super Bowl, he's getting fired. Kevin Stefanski, the offensive coordinator for the Vikings, who was the quarterback coach of the when Shermer was there. Lincoln Riley, head coach of Oklahoma. And Darren Bevel, offensive coordinator.
Darrell Bevel?
Yep, of the Lions. And the last two would be Mike McCarthy or Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh will never come because he'll want some personnel control, and you can't get that with the Giants, and that's a huge problem, and that will keep away a lot of good head coaches. See, that was the thing. What they want to hire a coach, okay, who has very little say in the personnel. That's the way the organization is set up. They have to change that first if they're going to get a quality head coach in here. A lot of coaches out there don't want to just coach. They want to be involved in personnel.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Tom Coughlin had that issue. Bill Parcells left because of that issue. Bill Belichick didn't want anybody. He told his guys to stay away from the Giants because of that. Basically you're just coaching coaching blind without having any say in the players. And you'll even hear Shermer say it when guys are coming in and off the roster, practice squad or whatever. He doesn't really have any idea or any say of who's coming on the roster or not. So that's very odd, isn't it?
Yeah, not especially for modern day.
That will keep a coach like Lincoln Riley out of here.
You like Riley?
Of course, he's a great coach.
All right, so
if he coaches in the NFL, he's going to coach in Dallas.
Okay, great segue. Let me give you the Lincoln Riley story. Ready? He played high school and college ball in Texas. He played for Texas Tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guy has only lost 5 games in 3 years. All right? Jerry Jones is basically living in this guy's back pocket.
Oh, he wants him so bad. He'll pay him twice what he pays Jason Garrett.
Yep. He's got a high explosive offense, and he's coached guys like Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray, so he's dealt with personalities before. He'll be able to do fine with the dysfunctionality of Dallas.
He took Jalen Hurts, who was basically career was over in college, and made him a top quarterback, right?
Yep. So if there's ever a time where, if it's inevitable that he's going to jump to the NFL, it's a Dallas move. So even if you wanted him, I find it very hard to believe you would get him.
A lot of people don't want to come to New York. And it's something that Colin Cowherd says all the time now. He says, you don't have to come to New York anymore to be famous and to get rich. You don't have to. And, there's a lot of, you talk about NBA players, they don't come to the Knicks anymore. They don't come, they came to the Nets. A couple of guys came to the Nets, but that's, basically because they weren't the Knicks.
Now,
same thing with the Jets and the Giants. They're not attracting anybody anymore.
No, it's true. But we're what crossword? Remember before Coughlin got hired, Coughlin was like their third choice, if you remember.
He wasn't going to get hired if Ernie Accorsi had anything to say about it.
Yeah. It was literally, he was like the third choice, that year.
Wellington Mara hired him.
And he put back the Giants' pride. Like he was a hard-nosed guy. He got the soft, wimpy players and the head cases off the field.
Mm-hmm.
He put some structure back in the team. And then when it got too much, you had guys say, "Look, something's got to change," right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he made the player personnel group, right? He had one position player.
The leadership group, yeah.
Yep, yeah. He had one position player per position, right?
Right.
So he can get a better idea what the team wanted. the Giants are at that point. We are at, what did Coughlin come? 2006?
2004.
4. We are literally in 2003 right now. And we are at that crossroad.
We're actually in 1980.
Yeah.
No, we're not even in 1980 because 1981 was a winning year. So I think we're in like 1978 right now.
Killing me. And the only reason why I asked was, me personally, it's got to be a defensive coach. We did McAdoo, we did Shermer. It's time to go back and get some smash mouth football. And I need a defensive coach who cares about the defense. And I want a high IQ, whiz kid offensive coordinator to call the plays and just get this ship turned. All those guys I named, do any of them jump out at you that's someone that you'd like to explore? Because you like Riley, but he's not coming. He's going to go to Dallas.
No, he wouldn't come. Most of the other ones don't excite me at all. Jason Garrett, Darrell Bevel, forget about those guys.
All right. Ready? Greg Roman, okay?
No, I don't want him. He's an assistant. Forget
true.
About assistants. You need
coaches.
You
want former head coaches.
I need a coach that already knows how to run the room, discipline players, run a practice, and tell guys up and down what the deal is. Right off the bat.
Here's a dark horse for you. Ready?
I want a professional.
All right. I think you're going to like this guy. Ready?
Yeah.
Dan Quinn gets fired from the Falcons, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to see anybody lose, okay? Especially since he's got that albatross hanging around his neck that he lost in the Super Bowl when he was beating the Patriots, right?
Yep.
But let's look at where he is now. Matt Ryan last week, not this past Sunday, the week before, got sacked 9 times.
Right.
He's been sacked 38 times already this year, okay? And his team has never rebounded after losing Kyle Shanahan, okay?
Correct.
So getting a good offensive coordinator makes Dan Quinn successful. Now, one, born in New Jersey, local football star. He also built the Legions of Boom. He was the Seattle DC 2009, 2010.
Correct.
2013, 2014. So for 4 years, Dan Quinn built that Seattle defense.
No, he knows how to win. I mean, I like Dan Quinn.
So that could be a good fit if he gets fired. Jersey guy, knows how to build defenses, did it for years in Seattle.
Atlanta became a top-heavy team when they paid Ryan all that money.
Yep.
And Julio Jones, and
Shanahan left.
It took away from the defense.
Yep. And then when he loses Shanahan, he doesn't.
And then he loses his offense too.
What? Even worse.
Well, you have injuries to guys like Devonta Freeman, and it just doesn't. It's tough to run an NFL team.
No doubt.
I like him. Okay, I like Rivera. I mean, I think these guys are good head coaches, and they're both defensive minded, and I would interview both of them.
All right, then the last one I'm giving you, because I don't really have much opinion either way. I've been told no by a lot of people on Twitter. Is what's your thought of McCarthy?
No. Initially, I said he might be a good fit for the Giants, but then again, a lot of people have talked me down off of him. One of the reasons is because Aaron Rodgers wins you games in Green Bay, not McCarthy. Although McCarthy isn't a bad head coach, he won a lot. But when they didn't have Rodgers, they didn't win. They lost all those games, if you remember. So, and when he had Favre, I guess, I'd give him an interview. That's about it.
Yeah.
If he wanted to come in, he should have been hired already. When you think about it, and he hasn't been.
Interesting point. You might want to know. So, what I've been told, and I followed up, did a little research on it. Evidently, he's hired out of his own pocket a team to learn about trends and analytics. So supposedly,
I read about this.
Yeah, that he wants to embrace a new way of doing things because he knows he needs to do it. And I guess when you have Rodgers, maybe you don't necessarily have to. So,
right.
At least I'll give him credit that he's admitting, hey, this is what I need to do. Unlike someone like Shermer that's like, yeah, we can just wing it and try to win.
Oh, boy.
You know, and I can't. If Gettleman makes it, there's I mean, there's no way Shermer, Shula, and Betcher make it. There's just no way.
No, I don't think they all come back. I don't think the coaching staff comes back. I'll tell you that right now. John Mara was so pissed a month and a half ago that I thought there was going to be changes then. And, they're watching this team just not perform week in, week out. This week they got Eli back. They had a lead, couldn't hang on to it, couldn't add to it. That's not Eli's fault. It's not his fault at all. People were trying to blame him for the loss. I'm like, what are you, crazy?
Oh, Eli did everything he possibly could.
Within his powers. I mean, He came out, he showed you he could still play the game. Why don't you just come out and just continue to do that in the second half instead of going to a shell? Yeah, Coaching, planning. We don't know what it is. We don't know what the defensive plan is. We don't know what the offensive plan is. We have no idea what the GM is thinking. But I have a pretty good idea what the ownership is thinking. That means they're going to make some changes.
I hope so. I can't do another year with Shermer. I can't do it. It's just the game is too big for him. Maybe the only way for that guy to come back would be, as like I said before, is that you employ a high IQ offensive whiz kid.
That's not going to happen because that's supposed to be him.
Yeah, well, that's my point. And then he gives up the play call.
Right. No, that's not going to happen. Why keep him then? Let me tell you something. When Jimmy Johnson left the Cowboys and they hired Barry Switzer. Now, a lot of people, Barry Switzer was very successful at Oklahoma.
He was a great recruiter, by the way.
He was a great recruiter. He was great with the alumni, right? He wasn't really a football coach. All right? He was on the sideline, knew the game, of course, but he was a delegator. Okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. That's what he did at Oklahoma. Okay, when it comes down to a big play, I'll make a decision. But, the nuts and bolts of this whole operation, you guys are running it. I'm not running it. I'm the figurehead. And that's what he was in Dallas. It was a turnkey operation. He just walked right into a championship situation, and he didn't screw it up. He won, right?
Yep.
So that's the kind of head coach that I like. A guy that's not mired in a play chart in the middle of the game while his team is going haywire on the sideline and out on the field. All right? You don't see Pete Carroll with any kind of cards in his hands, do you? He's running up and down the sideline, this guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't call any plays. If it's fourth and inches and it's 2 minutes to go, he's going to be involved in it.
And I'm sure he's got some influence on the coordinators and stuff, but no.
Most of the game, he's managing the 200 people that are on that sideline, okay, and the people in the booth. He's doesn't have his head buried in a diner menu on the sideline saying, okay, 3rd and 6, what do we do? We're on the 22-yard line. Now, come on. You have guys that do that. You're supposed to already know that play, okay? In your head. You're supposed to go over that stuff. What do you do all day long? All of a sudden, you got to look at a chart to figure out what to do?
And you should be able to just know the down and distance and what type of plays you have ready to roll.
But they don't. Andy Reid has a chart, but Andy Reid, okay, manages his team. There's no question. He's got everything under control.
Yeah, well, Reid is one of the best.
You see him with his headset, his hat, and his little chart. He's calling some plays here and there. But, you'll see him, somebody comes over to the bench, you'll see him walk to the back of the sideline of the bench and talk to a player. I've never seen this guy do it. I've never seen, Pete Carroll's always talking to his players. He's running out on the field talking to them.
That's why they love Pete Carroll.
Okay? Belichick goes over to, the offensive line is sitting down, goes over to him and say, look, this guy, that guy, look what you're doing wrong. This is what we're doing. Okay? I want you to do this, do that, Remember in the Super Bowl when they taped him on the sidelines? He came over and told his secondary, this is a Cruz and Knicks game. He does that all game long. He goes over and coaches the units as they're sitting down or over on the sideline. He's always thinking ahead. Of course, he was wrong about Cruz and Nix. They threw the ball to Manningham, but still,
yeah.
This is what a head coach does. He doesn't bury his head in the moment. You've got to be out there coaching the team.
Yeah. Listen, it's everything about what the Giants do. I mean, again, we can beat it up all we want. It's not a good fit. It really was never a good fit, except for McAdoo was such an ass.
Shermer was a breath of fresh air compared to McAdoo.
Yeah, but now
McAdoo is actually a better coach.
McAdoo was a better coach.
Believe it or not. He wasn't a better manager. He was a better coach.
I think he understood the game a little bit different.
Yeah.
He looked at the game a little bit different. He was in over his head in New York. McAdoo made a mistake of coming to New York, or not coming to New York, but taking the job. He would have been really good as a head coach at a smaller market first. You know what I mean? Just
with a suit that fit would have helped too.
And a suit that fit, no doubt about it. I want someone to come in here and just utilize the talents that the team has. I really do think that if they sign Williams and Zimenez and Carter and Golden, who should be a priority in the offseason, that those four guys can rush the passer in a 4-3.
Golden's got to come back.
Yeah, give me a 4-3 defense and teach these guys. I tweeted it out earlier. You got to bring in Tuck and teach these guys how to power rush. You got to bring in OC and tell them how to speed rush, and you got to bring in Strahan and tell them how to be winners. I mean, you just got to do it. And you got to take these four guys and build a team. And if you draft a kid young, if you draft them, coach them up, let them go. These guys are confused. They don't know what to do. But the talent's there. It's just the scheme sucks.
You know what was great about Jimmy Johnson, too? Is he always wore his rings when he's coaching. So, if he's talking to a player and the guy's, not believing him, all you got to do is lift up his hand and show the kid the ring. This is what I know. This is, I've done this. All right? Listen to me. All right? That's how you get respect. A lot of kids, they understand material things.
Look, you saw what happened today, right, with Jenkins?
Yeah.
Any other coach that had control over his team, I'm not saying that whether I have a problem with what Jenkins did or not. If anybody doesn't know, Jenkins was texting during practice, right? I think that's what it comes out.
It's beyond. The discipline is starting to slip, if it was ever even there. And
there you go. There you hit the nail on the head. Was it really ever there?
Yeah.
I mean, guys aren't being benched. They're not tackling guys. They're saying they don't understand the defense. It's just a run amok. It's always been that way. You need a guy to come in here. And
here's the thing. When you could threaten a guy who says, you won't be here next year, and the guy's like, thank God. I don't want to be here next year.
Yeah.
It used to be like, oh, man, I don't want to lose this gig with the Giants. This is a big deal. Guys are like, you know what? I'm going to call my agent and see if they can get me out of here anyway. I don't want to be here. It's not a good place anymore. It's a culture of losing.
They need to bring a guy in that's going to...
Nobody knows how to win. The coaches don't know how to win. The players don't know how to win. How many guys on that roster have a Super Bowl ring? 7, and they don't. And only 2 of them have them with Giants, and one of them's gone. Diossi.
Yep.
Eli's the other one. I know Solder has a ring. Bethea has a ring. A few other guys. I think a few other guys. I'm not sure. Maybe they're gone. Who knows?
Well, there ain't any good if they do.
So, all right. I think we've overstayed our welcome again.
Yeah, that's okay. That's where we are in the season. We're hopeful that something good can come out of all of this.
It's hard. I know the beat guys. A lot of the beat guys are exhausted. They can't do it anymore. There's nowhere to go with this team. Okay, the end of the season is near. There's only so many things to talk about. The games are the same. They're like carbon copies every week. They're losing. And nobody wants to talk. Gettleman's not saying anything. Shermer is pretty much done. I think he sees the writing on the wall. The assistant coaches, they've got nothing to say. Right?
And
the owner won't speak. The GM won't speak.
And you're going to have December 15th and December 29th empty.
Well, if Eli plays this week, could be his last home game, it won't be empty.
No, that's true. If Eli's getting another start, people will come. And then you're looking at the 29th of December versus the Eagles.
It'll be all Eagles fans.
They'll
need the game.
Yeah.
We're 6 and 7, and they're tied for first place with Dallas.
Yeah.
And, the ridiculous notion, we have to reseed the conference. No, you don't. It is what it is, man. This is how it works. Okay? If one division falls off a cliff, they still get to get represented in the playoffs. That's the way it is. You can't change the rules every year to then just have one long division.
Or
right?
just bring in some coaches that know how to win.
Yeah. I mean, it just so happens that the NFC East is having a bad year. Last year or 2 years ago, they weren't that bad. Right? Dallas was 12-4. Philadelphia won the Super Bowl. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. All I can hope for, and I still lean back on the fact that there's talent on this roster. It's not a 11-5, 12-4 roster, but you're going to go out there and draft Chase Young if you get a chance for him. He's not going to solve the issues. You need.
No, he's not going to solve the issues on this team. On another team maybe, not this team.
If you get yourself a defensive coach, I think all of a sudden you're going to see a different type of spark and a different type of life on the team.
Well, where does Chase Young play? Does he play down line? Does he play outside linebacker?
In our defense, he'd be.
Where would he play in the NFL? If you were an NFL coach, where would you play him? I wouldn't play him on the line.
No, I'd have to stand him up.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I don't. And then again, though, they're going to put weight on him. He's going to get bigger as it goes. I don't know. I mean,
I think he's good enough to do both.
I do think he's good enough to be, but again, he's young, and he's gonna mature. So yeah, but if you're running this,
where does he stand in comparison to Nick Bosa? I know they played together, but
I think they're totally different players. I literally think they're completely different players. Bosa's all power, you know what I mean? And
he's got a lot of that. That's for sure.
You know what I mean? He's all power and he's great hands. And Young is like a hybrid of everything. He's very Von Miller-esque.
He's a linebacker then. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Bosa's a lineman and he's a linebacker.
Yeah. When I put them side by side, Bosa to me is a 4-3 D end who could kick down inside because how strong he is.
Yeah.
When I think of Chase Young, I think Von Miller.
It's not a bad comparison. Yeah. I see that.
It's just a different style. You know what I mean? He's very tall. I mean, remember, Chase Young is 6'5", 265. I mean, he's a big cat, but he's leaner than Bosa, and they just play a different type of game.
Yeah, I saw some mock drafts where they had the Giants drafting 4th and getting him number 4. I don't think he's going to last that long. I don't think the Giants are going to be number 4th. I think they'll be 3rd or higher. They've got to win a game. Who are they going to beat? Miami's hot. They're 3-3 in their last 6 games. Fitzpatrick is playing well. Their defense is playing well. They should have won last week. They got ripped off by the officials against the Jets. Right?
Well, you got the Giants should be able to beat the Redskins
in Washington.
I do think so.
Washington just played Green Bay pretty tough.
Yeah, so did the Giants until they folded in the second half as normal.
So that's not a guaranteed win. Washington. I mean, it's never easy down there. So if that's and then the Eagles come back here, it's going to be a must-win for them. They probably have some guys healthy back. So,
I mean, look, it's a quarterback-heavy draft, right? With the kid from LSU and
Tua will be in it.
Tua, Fromm, and Herbert.
Right.
I mean, and then you got those outer lining
Fromm
guys.
is going to be a middle round guy, I think.
Still first round, though.
Yes, I think he's a first round pick. But Herbert, Tua, and Burrow will be top 5.
And guess what? If Fromm goes like in the top 10, he'd be better off. He'll go to a better team.
Yeah, if he sneaks down the draft order, which I think he will.
You know, like if he winds up going like 10th, right? He's going to go to a team with better talent than watching Herbert and Tua and what's his name from LSU get their brains kicked in at Miami and Cincinnati.
Yeah, well, if Cincinnati drafts first, they're going to take Burrow. I think he's going to win the Heisman Trophy. He's going to win the national championship.
Yep.
So, and the guy pretty much came out of nowhere from the Heisman watch, and he's one of the reasons why LSU is so good this year. And you know, Alabama's not in the playoff, right? Georgia's not in the playoff. So, LSU was playing Oklahoma, Ohio State, and who's the other one? Clemson. So, those are the 4. You know, Burrow, he's got a good shot there.
I mean, the Giants could trade out and get 2 first-round draft picks for that spot.
Yeah, there's going to be teams looking for a quarterback. They're going to want to get up there. If they're drafting second, that's going to be Tua's spot, Tua's country right there. And there's going to be a ton of teams. And somebody told me that they're not adverse to taking another quarterback in the first round.
Who, the Giants?
Yeah.
That is not
Depends on who the GM is.
And do an Arizona thing? Oh my goodness! Yeah. That would just be ridiculously dumb.
Look who you're talking about. Should they have drafted Jones? Because a lot of people are saying, you know, Jones is what you're looking at. What he is right now, he may get better. And somebody mentioned to me on draft day, you just got Ryan Tannehill. That's what they said to me.
And Tannehill's on fire.
But now he's one of the hottest players in football. But it's 7 years down the road.
Again, Miami versus Tennessee. Tennessee's got a defensive head coach, got them playing ball.
They have a good offensive line, too.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Vrabel came out of nowhere. Who knew that guy could coach?
Well, he was born to coach.
I'm just saying, but no one really expected him to be successful in Tennessee. He was
on the verge of being fired.
Well, again,
before they started winning again.
Yeah, Tannehill saved his job.
Yeah, well, Mariota is not the guy. I mean, we know that he's just not a good player. Great college player, not a very good NFL quarterback. You know, him and Winston. Winston puts up a lot of numbers, but, you know, puts them up for both teams.
Oh, yeah.
He's fun to watch, Winston. And if you're playing fantasy football, you love him. Because you don't really get minus points unless he throws a pick 6. So, you know, and you don't care whether they win or lose. He just racks up the numbers.
Who needs a QB then?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Cincinnati needs a QB and Miami needs a QB. Who else?
You'll see teams moving up to take a quarterback. You'll see New Orleans or somebody, you know, somebody like that. You never know. You never know who's going to be in the market. You know, Pittsburgh. Not that they're going to look to trade all the way up like that, but you know they could do it. Just look around. Just look around football.
Yeah, Raiders.
You know, the Raiders. You know, Washington. Are they really thinking that Dwayne Haskins is their guy?
I'm not even sure that Gruden likes Carr.
Yeah. You know, so you look at some of the other teams, and you know, like Seattle is set, San Francisco is set, that whole NFC West is set.
Oh, I got it right now. Carolina.
Carolina is a team that could look to move up.
Carolina will draft one of these kids. There is no doubt in my mind Carolina will draft one of these kids.
You know, Green Bay could draft a quarterback.
I don't see that.
You know, not one of these, not moving all the way up. But, you know, They're going to be looking for a succession plan because they like to plan ahead, the Packers.
Man, the more I think about it,
Detroit with Stafford, is hurting. So
Yep.
You don't know. You don't know from now until March who's going to emerge. New England definitely will be looking for a quarterback. That Brady is talking about. This could be it. The signs are there.
If Brady goes, Belichick goes.
I think they both go. If they win this year, and they probably won't, just not that good this year. They're not good enough, I don't think. They're good, but they're not good enough. They both could walk away. And if they do, Josh McDaniels probably takes over and they look for a quarterback. So, and they could make it happen.
Yep.
They just have that mojo.
Well, as far as me, I'm out. I got nothing. I'm.
Yeah, we've had nothing coming into the show.
That's true. Well, you could.
So we talked for an hour and 15 minutes. We had zip. I got a couple of comments on one of the episodes we have. People say it's the worst podcast they ever heard. Some people said it was the best podcast they ever heard. But they're both incorrect.
Yeah, well, again, if it's the worst, what do you want? Stats? You want me to bore you to death?
Yeah, they want you to bore the pants off them. And it's definitely not the best podcast you've ever heard. That's for sure. We know that's bull. But thank you anyway.
I don't know. I always get good reviews on the podcast, but hey, I don't care. We're the Giants guys. You don't have to download it if you don't want, but if you do,
one person said it just sounds two guys that are very frustrated. Well, yeah. What do you think? Are you crazy? Have you been paying it? Why would you listen to this show and not know what's going on with the Giants and then complain that we were complaining?
Listen, we can, if anybody has some suggestions, and at nygiantsrush.com.
I can sing.
Yeah. Send it to me. What do you want? You want fantasy football? We'll bring a guy in for fantasy football. You want to,
I can talk about fantasy football all day long.
Yeah. What do they want?
But there's so many people talking about fantasy football, and nobody's right.
No.
Nobody's right. I won, 2,000 on DraftKings last week? That was the big hit for me for the year. Mostly every other week, I break even or lose. I got lucky. I got into the top 10 in one of the contests. But, that was because I got lucky. I didn't do anything different.
Yeah.
I do the same thing every week. I'm in it, and I'm cashing a little bit, falling out of the contest. Just so happened that, all my guys hit. They all played well, the guys that I put in the lineup that day.
I'm not much of a gambling guy, but I can tell you this. I'm gambling on Pat Shurmur losing his job.
That's not a gamble.
On the
That's a sure thing.
And I like I mentioned to you before, there is some good quality candidates out there, whether you like them or not. Those 11 guys I rattled off to you, all 11 of those guys, or at least 9 of those 11 guys, are going to get interviews in the NFL.
Yes. I agree with the interview part. I'm not just talking about giving the guy the job.
No. I mean, I just hope that the Giants are on it quickly, which everything points to the fact that, there'll be some swift changes made because we just can't afford to sit around.
One last thing, because now they're getting rid of another head coach. If you're looking for a job, is this a destination you want to come to? Because now ownership is showing a quick trigger finger on the head coach.
No.
So if you're not successful, you're out.
But I think that's pretty much.
That's part of it anyway, I know, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much anywhere. I mean, listen, we had
like Pittsburgh had 3 coaches in 50 years.
But that's because they win. I mean, you're talking about being 7 years in the tank. So, you have to understand that, you have to, you got a lot of people don't like Rivera. Just look at what he's done in 9 years and take our 9-year window, right? So, you have to be able to win 2, lose 1, lose 2, win 1. Like, it has to be an ebb and flow in the NFL today. One, it's built on economics. So you have to realize that when your economics aren't in your favor, you're going to have less new players or impact players. So you got to make sure you have, the right infrastructure, right? Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't go as far as a quick trigger finger. Is that the Giants made, they made 2 mistakes built on McAdoo was an in-house guy. They thought he was ready because he was learning from Coughlin. And 2, as we all remember, the famous quote is that Shurmur was the adult in the room. But we all know that Shurmur wasn't the first choice either, right? So, right. These are the guys you're dealt with at that time. It's kind of like, you draft a guy, best player available. I don't know. So, I wouldn't go as far as a quick trigger except for they made 2 choices that didn't work out, that at the time everyone was like, okay, we're not sure if this is going to work, but if it hits, we're in a good spot. And everyone thought 2 guys in a row. Wow, look at what Aaron Rodgers does, and look at what they did with Case Keenum. Everyone thought that was what you were going to get. It just turned out that everything else fell apart between contracts, a bad GM, a replacement of a GM, no discipline. So the Giants are going to have to go back to the drawing board. So I don't think it's a quick trigger. Overall, it's still New York. It still has some marquee players I think that they can build around, like Jones and Barkley, and if they get Chase Young, you'll have some players to build around. New York is always still attractive. Maybe not to all coaches, but some people realize that, man, when you win in New York, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so that's all I got today. And I want to thank everybody for listening once again. Don't forget to send us your comments. Craig, you want to sign off?
Yeah, sure. I have, you can reach me at nygiantsrush.com. Plenty of content up there for you guys. Trying to keep you guys at least entertained. On Twitter at nygiantsrush. And just for the holidays, everybody, we've got our store up there on nygiantsrush.com. We have the official website store is open. So buy your hoodies and your T-shirt stuff for your family members and, support what we do.
All right, folks, until next time, this has been the Giants, guys. Enjoy the game.
Stand by, all cameras. Ready with slow motion and isolated cameras. Stand by, videotape, and roll tape. And tape is rolling in less than 5, in 3, 2, 1. Take tape.